Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at jonnydelsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Let's go. I am fired up. It is the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast. The chat is fired up. Michael Norris checking in saying all I can say is wow, and I crack myself up when I say all I can say is a lot. You're about to find out. Oh man, we're going to get right into this, Johnny. So Thursday night football, I was very excited to watch this game. Honestly, I can say as a fan of football that I was excited to see two good teams play, and I was excited at the chance of the Seahawks winning. I was texting you earlier this week that I was getting into it with Niner fans on some of all these pages on Facebook and things, and they were saying how much they hate the Seahawks and they can never root for them to win. And first of all, I want to make it clear, I'm not rooting for them to win. I'm rooting for LA to lose, as positionally it's better for the Niners. This isn't rocket science. I couldn't believe how many people were saying, no, for seeding, we want LA to just win. And it just makes no sense.
Well, it does, in the sense that a lot of people are looking at it like number one seed is just really unlikely, considering we're playing the Colts, who have a winning record, the Bears, who have been doing very well as of late, and then the Seahawks. And so the idea of winning all three of those with the state of the franchise starts to feel a little far-fetched. So I understand. I understand that, but
I don't understand it.
I do.
If we were punting on the season, maybe, but we are not.
Right. And I mean, so it's a situation where I go, no, like you want the highest seeding you can, period, because that gives you the best chance of home field in the playoffs, whether that's the 5 seed or the number 1 seed. And yes, it would give you a little bit better of a chance to get the 5 seed if, say, that the Seahawks lose. But the idea that now the 5 seed is off the table isn't necessarily true either. Because the Seahawks have won, it still comes down to that the 49ers have got to beat the Seahawks the last week of the year. And there's still 2 other games that we've got to play. There's still one other game that both teams have to play when you look at both the Rams and the Seahawks. So, I mean, right now, the 49ers control their own destiny. That is what you want. You want to control your own destiny coming down the stretch in the year. Because the fact is, if the 49ers beat if they beat the Colts this Monday night, they are the Rams will be in 3rd place in the NFC West,
which is crazy. Let me break this down. I want to see if this is right, Johnny. I want to see. All right. So if we win out and everyone else wins out in the West, I don't care about Arizona. They can go to the CFL or to college football. But so if everyone wins out, that means we have the same record, but it means that we have the tiebreaker over Seattle, because that means we would have beat them twice. We have the tiebreaker over LA because we would have
Divisional
only
record.
one loss in the division, and they obviously, by losing to us and by losing last night, which was such a big deal, they have more losses than us, and so we have the tiebreaker over LA. Am I explaining that right?
100%, and
Okay.
we would also have the tiebreaker over, Chicago. Well, I guess Chicago, that really wouldn't come into play because if we win out, Chicago would have one less win. They can't win in the tiebreaker. If we went out, Green Bay cannot have as many wins as we have at the
Because
end
they
of
have
the
that
season.
tie.
So
Because
we
they have that
yeah, so
tie. That's
I mean,
hilarious that
the
it comes
the
to
the
that.
fact the fact is now if San Francisco was to go 2 and 3, you would need that win to be over the wins to be over the Bears and the Seahawks uh and you would need the Seahawks to drop another game in there. I don't see that happening.
Right.
But that's how it's starting to play out because but I mean, you never know. The Panthers beat the Rams, and so you look
Yeah.
at Seattle's final schedule and um the rest of their schedule, and I'm looking at it. I went too far. They play the Panthers next. So, I mean, the Panthers are fighting for their playoff lives. They beat
Yeah.
LA. So
Yeah.
there's
Hey.
no saying that that's just an automatic win for Seattle. This is really all going to come down to probably most likely going to come down to that week 18 game. It could be not in play then, but it's still going to come down to fifth seed versus sixth seed versus seventh seed. It's wild to be at this point, and every seeding is available. I think the only one that's not in question right now is the number 4 seed of which division that's going to be. That's going to be either the Panthers or the Buccaneers. That one's not going to move around. The Eagles are
Right.
solidly there at the 3 seed, but what the 1 seed, 2 seed, 5 seed, 6 seed, 7 seed are all up in the air. So it's wild to see. I know I've been rooting for that because if you look at this 49ers team and you think about the possibility of Fred Warner coming back, making a monumentous return,
Man,
the fact that you could get into the playoffs and only need to have one home playoff win to potentially get Fred Warner back, a game that would determine who goes to the Super Bowl is wild to think about.
which is at home, by the way, which is
Which is
also at
in Santa
home.
Clara, which is wild to think about in this
Oh,
with this team, considering
dude,
this team just has had an anemic pass rush. They've lost 2 all-pro players. They've lost another guy
this
who
is
was second
ridiculous.
team all-pro, who is completely checked out from the team, who doesn't want to come back at all, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Um, that they lost their first round pick to a torn ACL. They've been missing their starting quarterback for 8 games dealing with turf toe. This is wild. I mean, this is just wild to think that we like. I think of that moment in the movie That Thing You Do when they're on the late night show about to play for the national showcase, and it's Steve Zahn's character turns to the drummer and he goes, "Hey Skitch, how did we get here, man?" That's how I feel like. How did we get here?
I need a
Like that we
gif
got to
of
this
that. Of
place.
this. Oh man, just so exciting. Just to think where we were literally 2 months ago. I remember just thinking that the way the season is going and the way the Seahawks and Rams are playing, there is not really a chance at the number 1 seed. We thought, maybe we can like fall backwards into a playoff spot depending on how bad some of the other with the Lions or like some of these teams, if they backslide a little bit, which they have. It's like just everything has gone exactly perfect, and it makes you wonder, is it just that perfect season where it's going to continue, or will the slipper fall off for this Cinderella story? We just have to wait and see.
No, the slipper has to fall off for the Cinderella story.
Or oh, I guess okay, how do I say that? You know what I mean. I don't have any kids that I know of, so I don't watch Cinderella all the time.
That you
I,
know of.
I
Oh my gosh.
but you know what I mean. So, all right, are you ready to get into Indy? Because I
Yeah.
will be in attendance. I am so
Let's
excited. My
go.
entire family and two of my cousins are going.
Now, just remember when you go to text me that the broadcast is like a minute behind what you're seeing live in the stadium. So don't be like,
I'll only
"Oh my
text you
gosh, can
pictures.
you believe Kittle?" And I'm gonna be
Yeah, yeah,
like, "I
yeah. You're
hate
like,
you. I
oh,
hate you."
yeah. Yeah. I'll just text you some pictures. That way we can, when we go,
On a 10-minute delay, just to be safe. Like, I'm just saying.
yeah, when that way when we go live, we can show some footage. I believe we did that when I went to the Jets game, opening Monday Night Football, last year. We were able to show some pictures and footage and stuff like that. So I think we should try and do that again. I assume we'll go Tuesday morning since it's Monday Night Football,
Yeah, yeah,
for next
yeah.
week. So
I mean, it doesn't make sense to do a Victory Monday on the day of the game.
right.
So I'm
Yeah,
just
we'll go.
saying.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I will. I will say. So I mean, you start looking at this game. It there's some things that are concerning for the 49ers. The Colts are going to get DeForest Buckner back. That is a huge boost to their defensive line and what they have done and what he does in the pass rush. We all know Buck is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. He's a matchup nightmare for almost any offensive lineman. So he's most likely coming back. I'm not sold that Sauce. People have been talking about they probably get Sauce Gardner back. I don't think so. He's not. He was a did not participate. Now he's got the extra day. I get that, but those calves, as we've seen with Juwan Jennings, are tricky. And so if he's not on a ramp up now, I don't think he's actually going to get back out there now. Mooney Ward has been off of the injury report for them, and so he's most likely come back. And we have seen that Mooney Ward, when he is healthy and when he's got his mind right, can be one of the better corners in this league. So those are two big boosts to their defense that has been kind of trailing down a little bit, but they're also a defense that held the Seahawks to 18 points. That same Seahawks offense that just put up a ton of points on the Rams last night. So, it could go either way. The real challenge is going to be, can you stop the run versus this Indy team? I went and looked at the tape. Indianapolis's run game, I mean, it shouldn't be any surprise to us considering who their head coach is, but it looks so much like that 2022, 2023, 2024 Eagles run game, especially the Eagles run game when they had Jason Kelsey, because the things that they do with uh I'm trying to remember his name. Bortolini, I think is his name. The center, number 60. I looked him up. He was out of Wisconsin. Really, really athletic center. The things they do with him is really impressive. I mean, they like he's able to. They do all those pin and pull sort of runs that Philadelphia used to do, where they would block down with the guard and pull the center as a lead blocker around. He can do that. They can do that with their guards. They will do that at every gap. Like, they can block down with their tackle, pull their guard to lead out around the tackle, not like a traditional power play where you pull a guard and he comes across the formation, where you have a guard and tackle and the tackle blocks down, the guard pulls around and leads up in. They do these things a lot. They can do it with either guard. They can do it with their center. They do the counter Trey runs, that like the play that Trey Lance got hurt, and that Josh Allen did so many times there in Buffalo. And you see Lamar run, you see all these different things. They run that counter Trey. You're going to pull both a guard and tackle on one side, and you're going to block everybody down and bring it over. So they pull everybody. They attack gaps. And then when you start trying to defend the gaps really well, they start going zone. So they have a really diverse run game. They do a lot of things there. Now, the one caveat here is that before, they had an element of quarterback run potential with Daniel Jones.
Don't make me laugh, Johnny. Do you realize that Philip Rivers is the same age as me?
So don't give up on your NFL
44.
dreams yet, Adam.
I'm a handsome 44.
You can. I guess Mooney Ward is on. I didn't see. I thought he was coming off of IR because Kyle Shanahan said in his presser yesterday that he thought Mooney. It sounded like Mooney Ward was coming back. So that's why I have that Mooney Ward should be coming back. That he should be activated as far as I understand, but that may be wrong info. So I do apologize if that's wrong info. I'm going off of what Kyle Shanahan said. So blame him. Anyways, their run game is they incorporate this quarterback read element. I can tell you if I'm the 49ers, I am saying we are diving on the run every time with our defensive ends. If we lose because Phillip Rivers decides to pull the ball and run 10 times in this game, then I am fine with that. That is a way I'm willing to go down. So that Daniel Jones injury has been huge. And they already confirmed that he's starting. It's not going to be Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard would give a little bit of an element of quarterback run. When he was at Notre Dame, I remember watching the tape of theirs against Georgia, and he was giving Georgia a lot of fits running the ball. So, Phillip Rivers there. No, it changed their run game, and Seattle was able to take advantage of that. Indianapolis had one of their worst performances in the run game because suddenly that defensive end, that is the way that they've baked it into their run game. How to account for the defensive ends is with a quarterback, and that's off the table now. So that really does change a lot of how they go about running the ball. It's going to come down to Alfred Collins. I think it's going to be Alfred Collins and CJ West have got to really hold the point of attack. Got not get displaced on these Z down blocks, and that's the key to slowing down their offense. I'm trying to think of how to graciously put this about what I saw from Phillip Rivers on tape.
You're going to give me one of those headaches from laughing, like where I just laugh like too much.
I will say this. If I'm the 49, if I'm Robert Saleh, I'm going to say we're going to give him anything beyond 10 yards past the line of scrimmage outside the numbers. Like we will give you more space out there than anywhere else. That arm is not what it used to be at all. There was a specific play.
Yeah. Right about that.
Yeah, he ain't throwing that pigskin over that mountain. It was a double Tony concept. So it's an out and go combo, and he had the running back on a linebacker, and he drops back. He sees that's the matchup he wants. He kind of puts his head back to the middle of the field to hold the middle safety, and then he goes to make the fade throw. Okay, there's back shoulder throws, which are meant to be on the back shoulder. It's not leading your receiver. Then there's throws that go so far short, the running back has to stop and wait for 2 seconds for the ball. And it's
and
essentially
the linebacker catches up.
It's not even catches up. They both stand there, and it's like an NBA rebound situation, waiting for the ball to arrive.
They got to block out.
Because the ball was thrown 15, 20 yards short.
Block out.
Like that arm is not what it used to be. I mean, he didn't even want to take some throws outside. The footwork is, I mean, it looked like a guy who had not played NFL football for 5 years. The footwork was as bad. It looked as bad as, say, like Justin Fields preseason rookie year kind of stuff, but slower. And I'm just saying, like, it was the footwork was so poor. I'm just like, Phillip. I mean, obviously you have. I mean, I that's why I'm trying to say this with grace, in the sense that, like, this is a 44-year-old guy who 5 years ago it kind of looked like his arm was running out of juice. And now you've put 5 years of not practicing, not playing, no training camp, no OTAs, no mini camp. 3 months into the year, just keeping up with some kind of talk. And I've been running the scout team on a high school team in Alabama, and now I'm back into the NFL. Now, granted, even including all that, he threw for 120 yards and a touchdown. So, in the dome, I guess, the within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage in that area, still has a good mind, is able to get it. And he understands what he sees, so he's going to make some of those short completions. But if it's me going into this game, I'm saying, we are going to have defensive ends crash down on these runs every time, because I'm not scared of that guy running the ball. And we're going to make him make some big time throws outside, because I don't think that arm's there anymore. So, it there's a reason with all of this, all that to say, there's a reason with all this why the 49ers are 5.5 point favorites right now.
Right, right. And this is what I want to ask you. So, because Randy C checks in and has a good question, I want to ask about it. He says, "Can we just run Tampa 2 and keep the cornerbacks in the flat and run game against Rivers?" And my question is, maybe not literally that, you can touch on it, but is there a huge adjustment that the 49ers will do something like that, like Tampa 2, or run some sort
I
of
don't
tip?
see it as Tampa 2. The biggest weakness of the Tampa 2 is right over the middle of the field, because your Mike has to match the number 3 down. And Tampa 2 is basically like a seam protecting version of cover 3. I mean, really, when it's all said and done, it's really just another 3 deep defense. Uh, it- the difference is it has the ability to not go 3 deep. I honestly think it's going to be a lot more of quarters, of kind of a match quarters. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to line those safeties up 10 to 12 yards off the ball, allow them to fly down against the run. And we're going to say we're fine with having our outside corners match any outside routes. So if they want to run a post route and it's going to be behind the safety, you're going to make Phillip Rivers throw that post route like that. That's where, and you say I'm okay. I don't think that's going to be a pinpoint throw to where my corner, even if he's 2 steps behind, he's probably going to catch up on that ball anyways and go pick it off. If he wants to make that throw, and that allows your safeties to drive right outside the hashes on throws in there. That allows your Mike to stay in the middle of the field. That allows and it allows them to be strong B and C gap run support guys. So I think it's going to be a lot of quarters, but a match quarters where those guys, you see those safeties being able to just really attack the ball. So that's what I think. I think it's going to be, and this really plays into what we run most. We run quarters, I think, like about 40% of the time. We're one of the highest quarters defense running teams in the NFL. So I don't see a reason to change that up. I think our defense, as far as scheme versus what the Colts want to do, does match up well. The challenges are going to be, how do you match up against 12 personnel? Jason Pinnock has not been a good matchup there. That you still have to match up your defensive line on their offensive line. That is a very good offensive line. They are guys that they play really well as a unit. They and by that you can see the cohesiveness in everything they do up front. That these guys' steps are in sync. They understand their leverages. They communicate well. They pick up a lot of stunts and things very well. So it still is going to come down to positional matchups, but I think scheme matchup, we definitely have the advantage of what we do will work well against what they want to do. It comes down to, can your individual matchups play out? Because those are always the real things that when the rubber meets the road, in the end, that's what determines the game. I think the offense will move the ball well enough and score enough points. It just comes down to, can you keep this from them getting you with death by 1,000 cuts?
So
I think that's really what it comes down to.
you mentioned you think we'll be able to score enough. Let's go over what you think based on watching the tape. And I'll say, not on the we were talking before the show, not on the coach's film. Obviously, I don't watch that, but I have seen over half of the Colts games because I live in Indiana. my parents have kept up on them more than I have. They kind of like to root for them when it doesn't affect the 49ers in any way, shape, or form, which is about 85% of the time. So I have seen a lot. I do like their defense. If I was a Colts fan, I would be excited about the defense and moving forward over the next couple years. What can you tell us about the Colts defense, Johnny?
I mean, Lou Anarumo's done a great job, and it looks like a Lou Anarumo defense. Lou Anarumo, um, when he was with the Bengals, a lot of times he would lead the league in 8-man coverage, but he would also be one of the highest in the league as far as pressure rates. So it was very much a team that could give you fits because they could sit there and they'd blitz you, they'd blitz you, they'd blitz you. You'd be trying to hit your hots, hit your hots, hit your hots. They're constantly forcing you to do that, throw underneath, cheat your hots, and then they're going to come up and try and make tackles. Problem that they ran into with the Bengals was their guys can't tackle very well. We've seen that this year. That wasn't a Lou Anarumo issue. That the issue was they felt like he wasn't playing to what they could do. Well, guess what? Your defense can't do anything. But he was manufacturing a lot of that stuff, and then when you would get so used to throwing to the hots, and then all of a sudden it was drop 8, and it was it would cause quarterbacks to freeze, and that's when they get turnovers. That's when you get sack fumbles because you get them to hold the ball. When you look at this defense, that's pretty much what you see. Their ranking when passing, when they blitz, they're number 3 in the league. So passing when blitz, defense against the pass, when they blitz, they're number 3 in the league. When they don't blitz, they're number 25th in the league. So that really tells you again what the core of their defensive system is. And that's really a first, second, and third down stat. That shows that when you can pass efficiently on first and second down, you keep them out of that and you can be more effective. When you get into those third downs, he's got so many of those different pressure pass that it becomes really tough and they get you off the field. When because they have all these different play action or blitzes, it also makes it harder for you to run a lot of play action passes because you go to run play action and your quarterback turns his back to the defense. All of a sudden he's turning around. He doesn't have a running back to influence the underneath coverage because that guy had to abort his play action fake and had to go pick up a blitzer, or he didn't and he's going out into the pattern, and that blitzer comes through and the quarterback can't see him until they turn back around and the play's blown up. So that really tells you that their defense is really about these pressures. They like to man up on the other side and have a lot of matching zones so that they're going to end up transitioning into man coverage as they go. But when you can stay ahead of schedule against them, that's where the matchups are. You say passing versus no play action. We're number 3 in the league. They're number 20th in the league. Passing versus no pressure. When they can't get pressure, we're number 5th in the league. They're number 19th in the league. Long passing, which is long time to throw. We're 11th in the league. They're 24th. Short passing, which is, again, short time to throw. It's not necessarily or short passing as far as underneath routes is going to be we're number 4 in the league. They're number 18th in the league. Quick passing, which is when the ball is getting out quick. This again shows their pressure pass. We're number 3 in the league. They're number 3 in the league. So we have the third best offense in short time to throw. We have the third best defense in short time to throw, again, because they are such a pressure heavy team. That's where it starts to match up with our run game or our passing game. When it gets to the run game, that's where you see their defense is really tough.
Wait, but Johnny, what about on you talked about passing? How are the Colts against jump passes? Because myself and and Kalador, I love that. Did you see on his birthday, by the way, Kyle Shanahan was mic'd and he was like, and he goes, "Oh, jump pass. Yeah, Michael Jordan." I love that little clip.
I'm pretty sure that they omitted a word in there between that and jump pass again. Kyle Shanahan hates that jump pass.
Yeah,
he hates that jump pass, and I don't blame him. Like,
no,
Brock's about gotten himself in trouble multiple times with those jump passes. And that's where you can almost be frustrated because it's like, now that you've gotten this touchdown, you're gonna think you could do it again, and it's gonna lead to trouble.
Because how much strength is really behind a throw like that is the idea.
Not much. But Brock's thoughts are, but I don't need much on those throws. I'm not trying to throw it 25 yards down the field. When you look at their run defense, I mean, man, they're a good run defense. Rushing outside the tackles, they're ninth. Rushing versus the light box, they're third. They keep in quarters and they have a light box and they can stop the run. Rushing in the red zone, they're 14th. Overall rushing efficiency, they're fifth. Designed run second. Rushing under center, third. Rushing from shotgun, seventh. Rushing inside the tackles are seventh. They're a very good run defense. It's going to be, I don't expect this to be the week that Christian McCaffrey hits a 40-yarder. His longest run of the year is 20 yards. This isn't going to be the game that, at least I don't think, that he busts one that's bigger than him. The only difference, the only place we have an advantage in the run game is rushing versus a stack box. We're 24th in the league and they're 29th. That's how things start to match up versus their defense. It's really going to come down to, can our defense at least keep their offense from those 4 and 5 yard per run sort of things. That's going to be the biggest challenge in this game.
So let's go over one quick scenario. If we were to lose any of the following 3 games, the most realistic would be the Bears, and there's still an outside chance then,
The Bears,
right, that would we be possibly sandwiched in the middle between LA and Seattle? Like if we lose one of these 3 games, assuming that the Seahawks and Rams win out, except for the Seahawks losing to us, I mean, I'm trying to be super hopeful that we beat the Colts, but here's what I'm getting at. If we somehow lose to the Colts and lose to the Bears, like, that would be so deflating. And I just want to make sure there's nothing else that you see with this Colts team that we really have to be aware of, or, something as I'm looking at live at the game. Like, is there something that you're like, well, this does make me nervous? Is it DeForest Buckner?
well, it's
coming
what I was
back?
talking about. It's the run game. It's their run game. I mean, like against Tennessee, we were not good enough against the run. There was a number of issues there, and I dove into that in the review video. When you're allowing Tony Pollard to get over 7 yards per carry. Now, I will say the Titans were starting to figure out their run game. If you look at Tony Pollard's yards per carry against the Jaguars, people don't like it when I say Jaguars, the Jaguars, that it was 6 yards per carry. Against Cleveland, it was 6.2 yards per carry. And then against us, it was 7.2 yards per carry. And with a bunch of those chunk runs they got with Tony Pollard, a lot of it came against there was a couple big missed tackles by Mustafa, and then Jason Pinnock was just non-existent in the run game because he was getting blocked by a tight end, and that's not a good matchup. That's not a good matchup for him. That's not fair to him to even say, oh, he's just trash, he shouldn't be on the field. That's a tough deal for most safeties, let alone a guy who was really was a corner and then moved to be a safety, and now you're asking him to get inside and take on blocking tight ends. Like, that's a tough ask. The ideal would be Nick Martin being healthy, but he's still in the concussion protocol. He's been in the concussion protocol for multiple weeks now. This is not, I'm genuinely concerned about him as a person, not even as much, for the 49ers, but the idea is, can Eric Kendricks be there? People are going to flame me for this. I believe if you're going into this game, you're going to say Luke Gifford is your best option on the field, because I am not worried about him getting beat 25 yards outside the numbers on a play, because I don't think Phillip Rivers can make that throw. And that's where he's been getting beat recently. So I'm fine with Luke Gifford in there. Like, if your game plan is going to be that Phillip Rivers is going to make that pass 25 yards outside the numbers with some velocity to beat Luke Gifford, I'm fine with that. I will take his run defense against your tight ends and in those sets over putting Jason Pinnock out there. That's what I would do. I don't know if Eric Kendricks at this point in the season is that much of an upgrade over Luke Gifford. I don't know. It's kind of an unknown. I think we're kind of looking at saying, well, this is who he's been. And the guy was a free agent. Nobody had been getting him. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I think, that's the key is, can you stop that? Because if you're giving up 6 yards per carry, this is going to be a very gruesome game for the 49ers. It will come down to which team turns the ball over once, or a special teams play. Like, that's what this game is going to come down to. Which, if your offense is having to try and press against their defense, that's something I'm more concerned about, because that defense, they do have a lot of takeaways. They're a good defense. They can create havoc. So, it just, the number one thing is going to be stop the run versus what they want to do. Now, the one advantage that we do have is that when you look at, a lot of teams will say we've got to stop the run versus the Colts, and so we're going to stack the box. The Colts, actually running against a stack box, are number 4th in the league. Running against a light box, they're number 6th in the league. Us in defense, when we have a stack box, we're 15th against the run. When we run a light box, we are 5th against the run. I think having those two safeties there, and again, that's not we're going cover 2 and we're not defending the run. That speaks to when we are able to be in our quarters defense, because those safeties can attack the C gaps and the B gaps so much harder. That's going to be the challenge. And I think that's the key to the game is, can you stay in those quarters? Are you able to hold the edges so that your safeties can come down in the B and C gaps? If you can't hold the edges, if they're able to run outside of you, and you have to then bring a safety to be your outside contained guy, and you got to go to a cover 3, that's where this game starts to change on you. Then they're going to start running up the middle. I think that your ideal is if you can hold the edges. So if Sam O can come back this week, that's a huge, huge lift to this defense as far as edge setting and keeping everything within that box. Samo was limited, so that extra day will be really, really big for him. Getting Udagros Matos back would be huge for this defense for third downs. Getting to Phillip Rivers with only rushing 4. He again was limited in this week's practice. Getting Tatum Bethune back, who is more aggressive in vertical run defense, would be really key in this game. He was limited. So those 3 guys are a big part of this run defense. I'm not expecting Jordan Elliott to play, and I will say that is concerning to me, because Kevin Givens did not play well. He has historically played better than he did, but his performance against Tennessee was not good. So that is a concern. That means it's really going to be on Kalia Davis, on Alfred Collins, and CJ West. It's that 4th, because they do that rotation. Who's going to be that 4th defensive tackle that you can plug into that position and do well? I am a little bit concerned that Spencer Burford did not practice. Again, though, he's going to have that time. It didn't look like it was a high ankle, though. Or they confirmed it wasn't a high ankle, which was good. I went back and watched the Titans game, and I couldn't see when he actually got hurt, because the last 3 plays that he was in, there was no obvious injury, and he was still on the field. And then he went out, Connor Colby came in, and then we scored a touchdown. I think he scored a touchdown or kicked a field goal. And the field goal unit, Spencer Burford, was back out there. So his ankle wasn't so bad that he couldn't just go back out on the field even that game. So, we'll see how that goes. That it could be that they just have him on a complete rest day to give him that extra day, because they do have that bonus day here with Monday Night Football.
So one thing I want to ask you about is, because we have a super chat, which lends itself perfectly, from Cayman's Island podcast. He says, do you feel Kyle is misunderstood? I think because some of the boneheaded calls in the Super Bowl, folks think he's a bad coach. I feel he's great. And this is what I want to bring up with you, Johnny. It's a chess match between the coaches. And you look at last night's game, what a chess match that was, with going forward on 4th down 4 times in just the first quarter alone. How about going for 2 to win the game by Seattle at home? Bunch of chess matches, right? And we haven't been able to talk about this. It's not like Shane Steichen and Kyle get matched up a lot. And so let's answer this question. Do you think Kyle is misunderstood? And let's get into what you think this chess match could be between these 2 guys.
Well, I guess I'll ask you to put it in the chat, Cayman. Um, what do you mean some of the boneheaded calls in the Super Bowl? Like I just because
Well,
I've watched.
I got some. We
Okay.
threw the ball in the third quarter of the Chiefs. The second time we threw the ball like 13 times in a row. That's boneheaded to me.
Yeah, I
In the
mean,
third quarter, coming out of the second
well,
half,
but at the same point, I don't remember us having a huge amount of success in the run game. I mean,
doesn't
it's
matter. How can you have
well, yeah,
success when you don't even try 13 times in a row? That's not. I mean,
and maybe I'm not remembering it correctly. I don't remember it was just like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Um, so
in general, though, come on, you would never support that to throw the ball 13 times in a row. That's just
well,
not for
again,
being our brand.
well,
We
okay,
run
so
the ball.
here's why I push back on that because again, I would have to go back and see what was their can calls being made and we're throwing because we generally have on a lot of first and second down, there's going to be two plays called in the huddle, and one's a run, one's a pass, and it depends on what look the defense gives you. And so, if you're actually calling runs and it's ending up they're in a formation that run that you called, you cannot account for a guy in the run game. You're gonna say that would be a boneheaded idea to just run into a brick wall and say, well, we're gonna be 2nd and 11 against that defense. Like because we just simply they have aligned in a way that we cannot account for everybody, and there's certain runs that happens, and there's certain defensive formations that happens, and you say, okay, now we will check to a pass, and if that didn't work out, I don't sit there and say that was a horrible call by the coach. I say that was a lack of execution on the field, and so I just go I knowing who Kyle Shanahan is, I really doubt that it was 13 play calls where it was just simply pass, 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 pass. I think there was triggers in there. They were trying to get a certain look, and that during that stretch, Steve Spagnuolo was able to stay ahead of the run game. And when that happens, that offensive team, you should have been able because one thing that the Chiefs are doing around there is they were going a lot of man coverage. And they were trying to bring +1 in the run game. And when that happens, you've got to have some guys that are executing and will take advantage of those opportunities against man coverage. That was Brandon Ayuk, that was Juwan Jennings, that was Deebo Samuel, that was George Kittle, that was Christian
Yeah,
McCaffrey. Those guys have got to capitalize on those moments. And
but
so
Johnny, here's what we're saying. Here's what the chat is saying. I feel like the chat's agreeing with me. Look, you can say all that you want. Line it up and run the ball, especially on first down. And they didn't do that. Sometimes I think, and chat, nail
right,
me if it, but look, this is what Kyle does sometimes is he gets ahead of himself and he tries to like outsmart himself a little bit. Like that's what I feel like. And chat, again, nail me if I'm wrong, but if you agree with me in this statement, just listen to this statement. Kyle Shanahan sometimes gets ahead of himself, including words like getting too cute or not being consistent with just running the ball when that's who we are. Then that is what I'm that's what I'm saying. Don't want him to go. I want him to coach for the next 40 years. I just am saying that
right.
sometimes that
Okay.
happens.
I guess I'll also then, push back on uh what was the bigger factors in us losing that game? Was it the throwing 13 times in the row, or was it the muffed and lost possession on a punt return? Like that has much more to do with losing the game. Is it
Yes, that's part of it.
giving up 10 points,
Absolutely.
in the last two drives that the Chiefs had? Those things have much more to do with it. And I get it. It becomes if you put the score out of reach and sort of stuff. I guess I look back on like I think about the Giants' two Super Bowls. Okay, what moments most define those two Super Bowls?
Rushing the passer right
It's
up the
not
middle
no,
and the
it's not
crazy
even that.
catch,
It's
helmet
the
catch,
David
and
Tyree helmet catch.
well,
It's the
yeah.
Mario Manningham sideline catch without those two plays, the Giants do not win Super Bowls. And so I look at it and I go, okay, are those incredible calls by the coaches there, or is that really
Well,
elite
we
level
had that
execution
too.
by both? I
Ayuk,
say when you can go back to any of the close game Super Bowls and you say, when you get in there, there's a reason that guys like Patrick Mahomes are being paid $55 million a year and a head coach is getting paid 12. There's a reason why wide receivers are getting paid $35 million a year, and your highest paid head coaches are getting paid $12 million a year. Brandon Ayuk was getting $28 million a year coming off that season. That's where I go. I put more on what everybody's valued most, that you need to be stepping up in those moments. Brandon Ayuk, I don't care if it's Trent McDuffie out there, who's an all-pro corner. You were fighting to be one of the top 5 highest paid wide receivers in the league. Mario Manningham came up in the biggest moment in the Super Bowl, and the Giants walked away with the Lombardi because of it. David Tyree came up with one of the biggest catches. Danny Amendola against the Falcons came up with 3 massive catches down the stretch in that game because he won against man coverage and he made great catches while one being double catch and
Kyle
bobbled.
Shanahan called plays on that game. Kyle Shanahan called plays.
I understand that. Kyle Shanahan was also not the one who took a sack and didn't throw the ball away. So
why did
I will always wait towards when players on the field do not execute, and that is as a team, because there's 11 guys on the field, 1 guy standing on the sideline. And to say that it's because of the 1 guy standing on the sideline that he didn't have the exact right call in that exact right moment, or those different things. Yes, it is a huge part of it. But in the end, there's a reason why coaches aren't paid nearly as much as what the players are. And if I'm looking at this and saying, okay, we have a $300 million. I think it was that year we were spending $300 million in cap space because we had all the rollover in players on the field. $300 million. Our head coach is being paid about 12. And I'm saying, who am I? If it comes down to it, and I'm seeing that there's lack of execution here, and with the players that are being paid $300 million, or the head coach is being paid 12, I'm going to wait on to the guys who are getting paid a $350 million almost. That's where I tend to put it. So in the end, that's where my focus is going to be. It's not to say that 13 runs in a row is excusable in that moment. I'm also saying I don't think it was just called 13 runs in a row or 13 passes in a row, excuse me. I think there was checks in there. There's going to be parts in that. Players have to execute and get you into advantageous situations where you can. And so that's where I have that. I look at Darrell Luter and what happened in there. I look at Spencer Burford and the missed block, and I go, that's not a coaching issue. And those are the moments that separate you from being etched in history as a Super Bowl champion, and the ones that don't. And this year's team has a chance to wipe that off the board. But coming back to this, do I think he's misunderstood? I think he's sometimes mischaracterized. I think some of the things, again, as you say, sometimes getting too cute. Okay. Everybody, when we watch the highlights of Ben Johnson with the Lions and the Bears, or sit there and go, they have so much creativity. They can do all these things. They have these trick plays. They have all this stuff. Nobody talks about the times when they have a 5-yard loss on a run. Okay. Is that not a boneheaded call? Getting too cute on a double reverse sort of a thing? No. Okay. We're because we don't feel that, but we see the creativity. And so in that way, I will always say we tend to look always with a grass is greener mentality on everybody else, because we don't feel the pain. We just see the excitement of their success. And so like last night, a perfect example, we've seen this Stafford Purdy thing come around. And I'm not saying that Brock Purdy is better than Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is playing as a top 3 quarterback in the NFL this year. I think actually he's playing as the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes is getting like a lifetime achievement award when people put him in the top 5 this year. He has not been top 5 this year. No, not even close. Okay.
Stafford's MVP. He just is.
But how many passes did Matt Stafford miss last night? I'm talking just straight missed.
Right.
There was
one
a bunch.
in the first half was a touchdown to Puka that just was
overthrown.
Like,
He had like 3 touchdowns to Puka that were overthrown on either side.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there were so many. When you look at Matt Stafford's numbers from last night, Matt Stafford was like 59% completion percentage. Yes, he threw for 450 yards. That game, the Rams win by 3 scores over more if Matt Stafford hits like 4 passes that he just absolutely whiffed on. Nobody's talking about the whiffs that Matt Stafford's had. If Brock Purdy had missed those throws, even if he threw for 450 yards
and 3
everybody
tutties,
would
no
be
picks,
dunking on him like crazy, saying this is a throw that any NFL quarterback should make. Yeah. I mean, tell me I'm wrong in the chat. So when I look at this stuff and I say, well, Shanahan with these bonehead moments, I go, every coach has those. Just like every quarterback is going to miss throws.
Well,
we get hyper focused on our team and hyper critical on our team because it's our team. And I get it. That's part of the nature of it. But sometimes there's going to be points. And this is where I tend to push back is that is more common than you would think because you're looking at teams in a different way. You don't feel their pain. And so when Brock misses a throw that could have been a touchdown and you lose in overtime, you're really mad at Brock. Yeah. You don't feel the same pain about Matthew Stafford. You're going, wow, the Seahawks had a really great comeback victory, even though it was helped by a backwards pass that nobody realized was a backwards pass for a 2-point conversion that Zach Charbonnet just randomly walked over and picked the ball up. He did not believe it was a live ball.
Right.
That's how narrow that margin was. And that was there because Matt Stafford missed like 5 really big throws that were wide open. I mean, these were not like really tight window throws. They were there. They were wide open. So,
So here's what my thought is.
I don't know. That's a long way around answering this.
No, this is great. This is what we like to discuss. It's a good debate. At this point, Johnny, I even feel like we're not having a podcast. This is me and you talking, and the chat is there, and it's awesome. But I would say this to you offline or online. Like, so the things that bother me when you say about being cute is Ben Johnson will call a play that goes for a 5-yard loss on first down, and on 3rd and 4, when we just need to run a simple choice route with a slant on the backside to get the freaking first down, sometimes that's where there's been like a fake reverse or like whatever. And it's like, just get the freaking first down. It's 3rd and 4. What are we doing? Like, that doesn't happen that often, and it hasn't.
It's really not that
when
that
often. Cute,
and again, it's because I don't even know if those are the moments. I mean, if you're going to pick an example, that's not going to be the one because you look at historically, Kyle Shanahan, his quarterbacks have been very efficient on 3rd down. Like we're usually one of the most efficient offenses on 3rd down. Like that's just bar none. Because the focus for this passing game is 3rd downs. Where he gets cute is usually on 1st downs, where he's trying to manufacture explosives. And you see more of those in years where we are struggling getting explosives in the offense period. And so they're trying to manufacture these. I mean, like we had a play where we were trying to run, I think that throwback screen that the Seahawks ran against LA and got like 50 yards.
What a great play that was.
Well, I mean, that's a play we've run like 20 times, and we tried to run that same play versus Tennessee, and it was bungled up. And so and Brock ended up scrambling. I think he threw it away.
Yeah, you got to execute
in the end,
like you said.
It was because the offensive line, it gets bungled up, and McCaffrey's trying to leak out through there. So like we run a lot of the same stuff. If he gets cute, it's in those moments where you're trying to take advantage of what they're doing on 1st down to get an explosive to generate more offense, because every offensive coach has a belief it is really hard to move the ball against NFL defenses on 12 and 13 play drives 6 times a game. So you've got to generate some sort of explosives. When your team is struggling generating explosives, and I get the frustration of, okay, we go cute and then we end up 2nd and 18 and the drive shot. Well, numbers tell you that the drive is most likely shot if you don't get an explosive of some kind. If you don't get at least a 12-yard play at some point,
which comes first?
It's right. Yeah. So I mean, all you're doing is just accelerating the punt. Like you were probably going to punt anyways if you can't get an explosive. So like I'm okay with taking. And And again, that's where people will be like, you've got to take some shots. And then when you take the shot and it doesn't work, then people are like, what are you doing? Why would you do that right there?
So
Well,
I will
okay.
say, Johnny, I will say about you, the great thing about this channel is it does make you think about things differently than maybe you did before. And that's I say that for me in talking with you. For example, I always think about this. Joe Montana does not lead the NFL in any sort of categories with comeback wins. You know why? Because not because he wasn't a good quarterback, because they were mostly ahead. So you don't need to come back when you're ahead. So it's like things like that make us think, and you do that always. Lisa agrees with you as she checks in, by the way, with a super chat. Thank you, Lisa. She says, I think Kyle goes according to what the defense gives. Like you mentioned, it's probably techniques within the players. If the play is there, again, like you said, it's on them. They didn't execute. So the chat was about 50-50, though. I'll be honest with, like,
I mean,
I
well,
don't know.
that's pretty much 49ers the 49ers fan base, and we have a great cross section of the fan base. I love our regular viewers, and look, I'm not sitting here just in a point of I think Kyle Shanahan does nothing wrong, or I think though when you look at this year, like this is a great example. Kyle Shanahan
Coach
should
of
be
the
coach
year.
of the year. He should be
Yeah,
coach of the year.
coach of the year. And what's
If the
cool is
49ers
other
get to the
people are
number
saying
one
it.
seed,
Other people
it,
are starting to say it, not just
they're
49er
starting to say it,
people.
but Mike Vrabel has almost certainly locked up that award. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's some buzz around some people, but understand that that award is voted on by like beat reporters for every team. If you're a beat reporter for the Jaguars, I'm going to say it again, or the Buccaneers, are you voting Kyle Shanahan coach of the year? Or are you voting Mike Vrabel?
Mike Vrabel.
You're looking at what Mike Vrabel's done
Yeah.
there and with
How
what he's
bad
done
they
with Drake
were.
May and how bad they were and that they've been so good. You're voting him. If you look at what Sean Payton has done in Denver and you're looking at how good they've been and what he's done with
Yeah,
Bo
it's
Nix,
tough. That's tough.
you're voting for him.
Tough,
You're
tough.
not voting for the coach on a team that your team beat. You're not doing that.
Now, Johnny, I will say this. This year, I will say, I think what speaks to Kyle Shanahan and that I have no beef whatsoever is this year in particular and on third down, which has been mentioned in the chat. I think he has been phenomenal. I don't think of, uh, I'll be honest, I'm really going through my Rolodex. That's a word for you, Rolodex. Some people may not know what that is, but I'm going through the Rolodex in my brain of this season. I don't see any boneheadedness. I'll just say it. Like this year, I give Kyle one of his. I mean, good Lord, he has been good. Nothing stands out to me this year. This is more of a overarching general thing, and with the two Super Bowls is more what I think what we're talking about this year. No one can say anything this year, honestly. No one.
I think there's also an element of that you have some really good cohesiveness on the coaching staff and you have people who understand what their roles are and people are in the proper roles within the coaching staff. So there's a fantastic video John Gruden put out. I think I talked about it on a show before of what a week in the life of an NFL coach, of what that's like. Because here's the thing. I remember when Joe Staley went on a podcast with Rob Statsquare. I was on. We did a show yesterday. It was a great show. If you want to see about, I talked in a lot of depth with a lot of film. I do it there because they have a separate sponsor. They don't worry about getting demonetized there. I went through and showcased pure progression versus conflict progression versus horizontal stretch versus vertical stretch versus full field, split field reads. And talked about what Brock can do there because this has been a conversation. Everybody was really enamored by the answer that Kirk Cousins gave, and I really did like the answer that Kirk gave because he straddled the eras. If you look at a coach that has straddled the eras and incorporates both ideas and has a quarterback who can do all of it, that's Kyle Shanahan with Brock Purdy. Like he can give him, we're going to do split field. So if it's too high, you get this side. If it's single high, you get that side. He can give him that. He can give him, it's going to be this answer versus this coverage, this answer versus that coverage, that answer versus that coverage. Here's your hot, he can give him all those. He can give him a pure progression, how it's going to go boom, 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 boom across the board. He can do that. And Brock understands the difference in those. And he understands when to use it, when to not. And he can understand when to streamline. And Kyle Shanahan understands how to provide data to help clear up the picture a little bit. But there's so many moving parts that you got a quarterback who can recognize it in real time of what the data is telling him. So, I remember Joe Staley went on a show with him, and he had talked about Mike McDaniel. This is when Mike McDaniel was there. And he talked about how Mike McDaniel was doing certain things in the run game for the 49ers. And he'd be like, Mike could be in his office, like empty Red Bull cans everywhere. And he's got film, and he's got like 6 monitors up on the board and like 4 whiteboards, and he's drawing everything out, trying to come up with stuff.
Linking everything.
Well, that sort of thing. And I remember there was a certain beat reporter who tends to be rather negative on the team, who then took and ran with that it was the idea that Mike McDaniels was the true genius behind the 49ers run game that year. That was after the 2019 season, and how, they had been so explosive in the run game. And I was like, for somebody who had been a beat reporter with the NFL and following teams for as long as he had, and had family lineage doing the same thing, the lack of understanding how even an offensive coordinator will go about the week and divvying up duties was kind of jarring in that moment. It was either he didn't know in ignorance, or he knew and he was purposely making an inflammatory point. But the idea, when a coach, they only have so much time during the week, so you are going to divvy up duties. It's not Kyle Shanahan in there watching all the film and then putting every play in that game plan. That's not how it works. He's going to be working on like 2-minute. He's going to be working on third down passing, but they're like first down play action passing. That's most likely Clay Kubiak, who's putting that together, because he's got to rip through and watch 50 different cut-ups and look at exactly what the timings are and provide all the percentages and everything and the data on how do they react on first down play action passing and every coverage that they run. And if it's backed up inside the 20, between the 20 and the 50, 50 and the 20, and then inside the 20. So like, there's all these things. John Gruden specifically had talked about that. He had one guy on his staff who was a motion of the week guy. Like, his job during that week was to come up with a new motion every single week, because they wanted to present something new to a defense, and they needed it to tie into what they were going to do, actually provide something of value, not just be a random motion. But it would take a guy 2 days of sorting through the film to come up with a new motion every week for that team. Okay. Then they've got guys who are watching trend reels. So guys are watching that these certain trick plays were run by Oklahoma this week against cover 3. And so we might be able to implement that. Then they've got to draw those plays up. You got another coach who's getting in there and drawing up all the individual plays. The 49ers coaching staff, they have like something like 15 coaches on the offensive side of the ball. This is not about Kyle Shanahan sitting in there and drawing up every single play, going through every single situation and putting it together. Same thing on the defense. And I'm saying all this to come around to that. What you see with this 49ers team is that the structure of the coaching staff this year looks so much more cohesive when you start piecing together the game plans and the positional coaches and what they're doing than it has in the last 2 years. That speaks to Robert Saleh being in the building. A lot of that, because that says that Kyle Shanahan is not having to spend as much time with the offensive side. He's able to come back to the defensive side. He's able to work with the offensive side a little bit more. You have somebody who is a steady hand at the helm, and you just see it alone in our third down pressure packages, in our pass rush packages. They are so much more cohesive than they have been. That tells you that that the defensive coaching staff is running like a well-oiled machine, because you have somebody in there who has been in that role, who has been in a head coaching role, who understands who's going to be the guy that's really good at putting together PowerPoint slides to present to your defensive backs. He understands who can do that really well.
Yeah.
Like, those are the kinds of things that it's the nitty gritty, because you only have 2 days to do this usually. So, like, what I'm seeing with this, and this is why Kyle Shanahan deserves Coach of the Year, is that this is one of the best run coaching staffs, and you can see it by the product on the field and what they put together. Because here's the deal: we are controlling our own destiny for the number 1 seed in the NFC.
in mid-December.
When you look at the LA Rams, how many superstars do they have?
How many injuries do they have? Not as much.
I don't care about the injuries. I'm saying when you look look at that team over the last last 2 months, like you just say how many superstars they got. Devontae Adams, they got Puka Nacua, they got Jared Verse, they got Matt Stafford, they got Kyron Williams, who's been playing out of his mind. They got one of the best offensive lines in the league. The 49ers, if they win this week, will be ahead of them in the seedings. Outside of when we say, George Kittle, who missed 5 games, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, you can say Brock Purdy in there. Okay, outside of that, what superstars have we had playing? When you look at that defensive side, you say, what blue chip defensive player have we had on the field since Nick Bosa and Fred went down? I don't think anybody would look at our defense and say, oh man, they've got this guy we really got to look out for. There's a lot of guys that have shown potential, have shown flashes. There's also, like, Malik Mustafa can be a game-changing safety, but he can also miss dig tackles and allow a 20-yard run. The fact that this defense has done what they've done with that group, with a no-name group, is phenomenal. The fact that they've offensively done what they've done with not a single receiver that anybody in the NFL says we need to double this receiver is remarkable.
Yeah, no, the real people in the NFL know that Kyle Shanahan should get a ton of credit. Like you mentioned, Vrabel and Sean Payton is a well-known name, so they're going to get some love. But yeah, what you've talked about is insane. Man, it's just exciting to be, like I said, December. Here we are, December 19th, and this deep into the season to just say we don't have to worry about what another team does. We just take care of business, and we can have the number 1 seed and play every single game at home, including the Super Bowl, which doesn't happen a ton. I know the Bucks, I think it happened for, and was it the Rams that were able to play? The 2 teams were able to play a home game in the Super Bowl. I mean, that would be crazy. So, all right, let's get to.
You got to do prediction pretty quick. I got to bounce out of here. I lost track of time. So
yeah.
Wifey's got an appointment I got to get home for.
I'm gonna say that we win by 7, but that it's just a weird type of score, just some different things that happen. So I'm gonna say 26-19. So let it rip in the chat. I'll take lots of video footage and pictures, and we'll try and show as much as we can from that on Tuesday's show. Hopefully, be a victory Tuesday. What do you got, Johnny?
I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be 20-16. It's going to be one that's going to be a bit of a nail biter. I think it's got to be a game that there's going to be a lot of throwaways by Brock. I think it's going to be a struggle to move the ball offensively. I think it is one that, because of the lack of passing game that the Colts are going to have, that it's going to be hard for them to score once they get in the red zone. I do think they're going to have 3 long drives where we struggle stopping the run, and it just seems like they get first down, they stay on the field. I think it's going to be 20-16.
Yep. That's pretty consistent to a lot of people. Tire Dome checking in 27-22. If we give up 27 points, I don't know, man. Like, that's what Collator says. We win 30-27.
This is not going to be a high scoring game. Their defense is really tough, but their offense, being what they've been, is going to be tough. I mean, look, the Colts are 1-5 in their last 6 games. So this is not a team that has been ascending. Now they've had Buckner out during that time, but I mean, still
they were 8-2, and they might go 8-9.
they were 7-1, and they might go 8-9. I mean,
because it gets rough for them even after us. So yeah, we'll see. All right,
they have the Jaguars and they have the Texans after us.
Yeah. So we will check in on Tuesday. I promise not to send you anything regarding the live game unless it's a 10-minute delay. But I'll send you a lot of pregame stuff and all that, Johnny, and we will show as much as we can on Tuesday. Hopefully we win as Hoffman Hoopties hopes. Hopefully we win 49-0. That makes all
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
easier. But okay, one last super chat, of course. Says, "Hi, I was wrong to be concerned about our defense going against either the Rams or the Hawks." Or was I wrong?
I mean, I look, this defense has been one real quick because I got to get out of here in about 48 seconds. This defense has given us cause to be concerned a number of times this year. They've also given us cause to be hopeful. They're a young defense that is a lot of ups and downs. So, I mean, there's always cause for concern and there's always cause for hope with this one. When you have a young defense that is up and down from week to week, they could be really up and then they can be really down. So we don't know what they're going to be. They just got to play it one series at a time and try and ride the wave up here at the end of the season.
So, guys, remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.